Hey, welcome to Fangirl Football. I'm here with DFS expert Quentin, and we're down to the final game. No more classic lineups. We have to do a showdown lineup, not my favorite. In this episode, we're going to build showdown lineups and explore if it's better to have that expensive player as your captain or go with a cheaper option and be able to build the rest of your team with those more expensive players. But before we jump in, we've got a new podcast out. It's Fangirl Crime, and it covers crimes committed involving sports stars. So think Steve McNair or Ray Caruth. Both of those episodes are already out, and there's a link in our episode. We would love for you to give it a listen, leave us a review, submit a case that you want us to do. It's also on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's jump in and see what kind of strategy should we be using when we create one of these showdown lineups.
We got the final game, so I know it's not probably the matchup that we wanted to see, but it
Yeah.
should be a great game. Kansas City, Philly, and the books opened at, or they have it currently as Kansas City as a 1.5 favorite with a 49-point over/under. That's kind of what we've seen over the past 10 Super Bowls. That's right around the average of the past 10 Super Bowls. The average score is 49.2, and the AFC's won 7 of the last 10. A
7 of the
showdown
last 10, that's a
strategy.
light. A lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, almost all of them have been Brady and Mahomes in that entire stretch. You had Stafford pull one out, and you had a Nick Foles one. But here we get the rematch from a couple years ago, and we got a great game a couple years ago. That was an over 70-point game, and these teams just went blow for blow back and forth. So I'm hoping that we get another one of those and not kind of these two defenses taking over.
Yeah,
But
I think we definitely have a chance. It's interesting. I felt last week that the Eagles were a little bit broken, but they proved me wrong, and nobody seemed injured on that team at all.
no,
And they kind of, I was a little worried about Barkley at times because he would just take chunks of time off, but he seemed fine. It was just like, oh, we knew we were in control and we were resting him, and he did what he needed to do, and that was good enough. And then the Chiefs, they've been broken all year and winning, but now they've got every wide receiver that they picked up throughout the season is healthy.
yeah, and especially they get that extra week of rest. So luckily, we don't really have too many injury concerns coming into this game. I think all the players will be really good to go. And Hurts did look a lot better than I thought he was going to in that NFC Championship game. That was like the
Yeah.
best the Eagles' offense has looked um, in weeks.
It was definitely the most balanced. I know Saquon had a good game, but e so did AJ Brown. So,
Yeah,
they were passing again, which was a little surprising for me. But, yeah, now we've got a lot of options for our showdown lineups instead of just limited ones.
we do. So let's dive into a showdown because it's a format that we don't really cover too much. So on DraftKings, you're going to have 6 players and then you have a captain spot. The captain spot is 1.5 times the price, but 1.5 times the points as well. So it kind of, you're going to have very narrow pools of players, and it is something to keep in mind of selecting your commitment level to this. So if you just kind of want like a casual lineup, to throw out there and something to keep track of during the big game, then I would filter the contest down to either like single entry or max like 3 entries rather than the huge tournaments they're going to be promoting on their main page, where those are 150 max entries, and you're going to have people that have an optimizer and absolutely just enter every single combination to try to get unique.
Yeah, they're maxing it out. I like to do that. I'm a little cheap, so I'll do it in a nickel contest on FanDuel or a quarter contest on DraftKings and enter my 150 lineups. But maybe I'll do that for the Super Bowl. But we also have a contest out there that is a dollar entry, and it's open to the first 20 people. So you can join us for a dollar, and then you're only playing in a very small contest as well if you just want to keep it interesting for the Super Bowl.
There we go. With the captain spot, that's kind of the main key decision, and really what's going to be the foundation for the rest of your lineup and how much money you have to play with. You might be kind of quick to automatically load in like the quarterbacks there and like that be the first thought, but actually a majority of the time it's a better play to either go with a running back or a wide receiver. So quarterbacks are only the optimal captain 24% of the time, but running backs and wide receivers are 27 and 33%. So a vast majority of the time, it's better to go away from the quarterback in your captain spot. And that number actually shifts towards the running backs and wide receivers as the over under goes up. So the higher scoring game, you're more likely to have that star performance from a standout running back or wide receiver to win over the captain spot. And then if you're on the other side of the boat where you think it's going to be a very low scoring game and you want to go all in on the defenses and the kickers and really just say no one can really get it done. These defenses are going to show up. I'm going to get sacks. I'm going to play both defenses. I'm even going to play both kickers. That is also found to not be a good strategy. So
I
only,
think that's
yeah,
only a good strategy when you have like two AFC South teams playing each other that can't do anything.
yeah, you get those old Thursday night football color rush
Yeah.
Tennessee versus Jacksonville games. And yeah, maybe you can be
Then
talked
it's a
into
good
that.
strategy. Not your Super Bowl teams where they've already figured out how to make it where they've
No,
already figured out how to get it done.
it doesn't matter how good these defenses are. These offenses are going to put some points up on the board. And
Yeah.
really, only 1% of the time, it's a good idea to have out of the four possible defenses and kickers to have more than two of those. So it is very rare to go all in on defense.
So, do we go all in on Saquon Barkley at captain? I mean, obviously he has to be projected to be the top scorer of this game, right?
Yeah, he is the most expensive. He is the top projected points, and I think he's a great pick for the captain. That I think you're going to see. The problem is you're going to see most people gravitate towards a Saquon captain, so you're not really getting it different. If you wanted to be a little riskier, you could go drop down to the quarterbacks. Hurts and Mahomes, I think, are both viable options. If Barkley gets tackled at the 1 yard line and then we get some tush pushes, then suddenly it's going to shift who the optimal captain was very easily. And we've seen that throughout the season. So I would also recommend, like, don't get too cute with picking the captain. Majority of times, it is the star players that we think about. I like Saquon here. I think if I was going to throw out a name, that would be more unique lineups that I think he actually has the potential to show up would be Devontae Smith. I think he's just a good matchup, and we've kind of seen these performances from those possession wide receivers in the Super Bowl. Think like Cooper Kupp a couple of years ago, Jawan Jennings last year, of kind of those smaller wide receivers being the engine to the offense. So I think he's kind of the one other name I would throw out, the captain.
Yeah, I think that Devonta Smith and AJ Brown have to be strongly considered for that captain spot. It gets so risky on that Chiefs side of picking the wide receiver, and we haven't seen the running backs have a big day either. So I feel like that's like all spread around, and at least on the Eagles side, I'm kind of down to three. I could throw Goddard in there because I think he could have a good day, but I think he's a little risky at captain. He's a great option to for one of the lower priced players to fill in here, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, you
And
get
with
different.
Kelsey, too, it's like we've seen one great vintage playoff performance and then he disappeared last week. So it's like, can we actually trust him to go all in on a captain spot with Kelsey?
Yeah, definitely. So who do we want to put in for our captain here?
I think
You want to go
we,
Devontae?
um, yeah, I'm good with Devontae. I think we do need Saquon as a
I
foundational piece.
Yeah, I don't see how you get out of this game without Saquon being in your lineup. But now, do you need both quarterbacks?
Do not typically need both quarterbacks, especially with how we've structured it too. It's like we're already getting a lot of the Eagles. I think here I would like more of a Mahomes pick because then we can pair him up with some of the pass catching options. But we're saying that the Eagle side is very concentrated between Devontae Smith and Saquon. AJ Brown doesn't get in the end zone. Goddard doesn't get in the end zone. Hurts doesn't. And so then Hurts probably wouldn't be an optimal play for this line.
Okay.
But I like Mahomes on the other side.
I
And
popped Mahomes in here.
a big part of this too is game script. You know, we kind of talked about it when we're building lineups in the past, but especially with a 1 game sample size, you're just going to have a lot of these factors kind of correlating with each other. And suddenly, if there's a turnover, it's a dramatic swing in how this game unfolded. So you really have to pick a game script and just run with it. I really see 3 possible game scripts where we get a competitive back and forth that we saw a couple years ago, high scoring game. Both teams are able to execute their offense that they want to. And then the other one is the defenses show up. It's kind of more of a grinder. And we get a slower pace game where both teams really aren't that effective running the ball, but they're committed to it. But the one I'm most interested to is we have not seen this Eagles team play from behind. They've been in control of almost all of their games. It's like, what did they even do when they're behind? The last game that they
Yeah.
lost with Jalen Hurts, they lost that Commanders game when Pickett came in. But the
Yes.
last game they lost with Hurts was back in September in week 4. So what do they even do when they're pressed if they get down 14 early?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Okay, so we popped Mahomes in here. I assume we need him with some pass catchers. We're already down to an average of just over 5,000, 5,600 a player for our next 3 players. So, what can we do to be a little different and stay in our budget?
So with Devontae Smith, then we do have some flexibility here. I do kind of like Xavier Worthy. I think he's really stepped up in that offense and he's been trusted more and more. The other wide receivers kind of shift in and out of packages, but he's been more of a go to recently.
Yes. All right, we'll put Xavier Worthy in there. But now we really got to save.
Yeah, there are some cheap options if we need to go to them later. So it's like we got Juju at 3, we got Samaje P. Ryan all the way down at 1.2. And I know if you're building with like an optimizer, Samaje P. Ryan and Justin Watson will keep popping up. Justin Watson's at 600. Be careful with P. Ryan and Watson. They're just barely on the field. I know P. Ryan had that big play to get the first down last week in the AFC Championship, but that was the only time he touched the ball.
Yeah, there are enough other options in this contest to eliminate some of those players when you're building with an optimizer and not let it choose P. Ryan and Watson.
Mm-hmm. Um, so
I
I
do
guess
like
for
Juju.
other pass catching, yeah, we got Juju, we
You got Noah
got
Gray. Do you like Noah Gray? They
Gray is
tend to
interesting.
go to Gray when things get difficult.
Yeah, he didn't see a lot of work last game, but I don't think Kelsey's gonna step up in this. And the Eagles' defense is a fast team. Like I don't think he's just gonna be sitting there wide open like we've seen them in the past and be able to kind of sneak out.
Yeah.
Um, I do like them scheming up something for Gray. So how much money does that leave us with locking in Gray?
Let's put in Gray. Then we have 6,100. Go back up here. Oh, that's not giving us. Let's get through these backup quarterbacks. I wish there was a way to, just
We
say I
could
don't even want to see the backups here.
we talked about not going over in for the kickers, but a lot of times you can get away with one kicker. So I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
Butker with kind of how we structured this team.
All right. You like Bucker over Elliott. You don't think they're just going for it.
Elliott's
We
been
have either.
looking a little shaky, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm fine.
Well, what were our other options? I guess we could have gone Goddard, but at that point, if we've got both Goddard and Devonta Smith, then we probably should have had Hurts.
Yeah,
Um, You do have Pacheco, but we talked last week about how Pacheco just doesn't look that great. And then you're at the kickers. So you could always take a chance like DeAndre Hopkins, especially since we do have Mahomes, but we've already gone in with Worthy and Noah Gray. So
I
yeah,
like
I think the
Hollywood Brown
kicker,
too. If we wanted a different pass catching option,
we could do that. I do like the kicker though. If this is a little bit, closer, or if we're just counting if it is competitive and a blowout, then maybe the kicker is worth 10 points.
Mhm.
All right, we'll go Bucker and we will update that entry. But those are all other options that we could have put in there.
And one thing to note too about the lineup that we made, it's like we ended up with 1,000 salary left over, which is a good way to get unique on the field too,
Brought that up.
because almost all the optimizers will use all of the salary or
Yes.
within like a few hundred. So if you're suddenly saving like even like 600 or 700, then your lineup is much more likely to be unique and eligible for kind of those big winning.
Yep. That's not the right one. Trying to get the right one up here. There we go.
So
Yeah, we did. Go ahead.
who's your take for the game?
You
Gotta
know, I, I guess I'm going on the Eagles. I would love to see Saquon Barkley be MVP.
Yeah,
I'm
I would love
cheering for
that.
Saquon Barkley, and I can't really get behind either team. I had a little difficulty coming out of last week, and I'm like, I'm not watching. I was kind of on that bandwagon where we had a lot of people going, I'm not watching the Super Bowl, but I think I say that every year, or it feels like I've said that the last 3 years, and I still watch it. So at least I can root for Saquon Barkley and kind of throw that in the Giants GM space. How about
Absolutely.
you?
I think that would cap off the year of the running back if we had a running back Super Bowl MVP. And I do think the Eagles have the advantage on both the offensive and defensive lines, but I don't think I'm picking up against Mahomes and Andy Reid. When you
Yeah,
got the
it's hard to
quarterback
pick
and
them.
coach advantage, I think you got to go that way.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a great season, and thanks for joining us this year. Hit the subscribe button so when we come back in the 2025 season, or we might get to pop in and do an episode on the draft, that you'll be here and you'll get notified that we're back. Thanks for listening to us and tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. We hope this week we're going to sneak in a bonus episode on player props and other props for the Super Bowl. All right.
Have a good Super Bowl
Good luck.
Sunday and good luck. And then see y'all this summer.